Certainly the best.
Well, it feels great to be back. Big thanks for joining us on TMI. And a lot we share when it comes to issues that borders on the country and how to deepen democratic practice. But there's been this whole headlong issues concerning how to make it count in terms of the electoral, laws and reforms that came upon us with the 2026 Electoral Act Amendment Bill that was signed into law by the president. And now it behoves on the country and, of course, a legal document upon which transparency and, of course, credibility and the people's trust will be formed. Well, good to know while I was away. I've got dependable hands-on and still with me, my colleagues, big colleagues. I have Anua Luakpo-Stevens. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome back. Good to see you. Yeah.
Thank you. Good to know you were holding on strongly while I was away. And big thanks, Lawrence, for joining.
Good morning, Philip. Good to have you back. You're looking refreshed, looking amazing. No, sometimes it's good to take time off work to go rejuvenate and come back with a get of energy and everything. And that's what you came back with.
So you can say I came reloaded.
You came reloaded, but some of us will soon go and reload and come back.
All right, so that's your own. Well, we will be joining Lagos Network Center where Patricia is holding on. Good morning, Patricia.
Good morning, Philip. Good morning. It's good to see you, Philip. You look so rested.
All right, so we have Dominic Emerson. Thumbs up to you from the Abuja Network Center. How are you doing?
A very good morning to you, Philip. Of course, welcome back from your leave. And of course, like Patricia said, you look very relaxed, and we are glad to have you back on the program this morning on Night TV. Good morning to my able colleagues over there also, Lawrence and Noah Luakpo. Very good morning to you guys.
All right, thank you. We're going to give a head start just to highlight on what we really will be having today. Well, we know that our country, Nigeria, is, some say it's a cruise country, but I don't want to be
very cruisy.
But we're dynamic, and we always come up with, news.
Yeah.
Whether I call it good news or bad news.
Issues are always there to talk about.
We've been having this banter, these issues about surrounding the electoral laws that's in as a legal document, and of course, a basis upon which we have credibility and transparency.
Yeah.
And the signing it into law, came up with questions raised as regards will it deepen democracy? Because we've been having this whole issue. Basically, we take our minds back to the 2023 general elections, and of course the hitches we had,
the glitches.
Oh, glitches. We had over the failure to transmit election results at a time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, despite the opposition politicians and of course civil society activists, protesting and of course barricading the National Assembly.
Right.
Well,
But they have the right to protest.
The document was signed into law.
They still have the right to protest.
With the proviso that seems to give an impression that, well, manipulation will take preeminence if real-time election result transmission doesn't pop up.
Yeah.
I don't know your reactions about that.
And it was tested in Abuja on Saturday.
Yes. But can you just take it up?
Your take?
Well, it's an ongoing conversation, I would say, and the conversation just actually come to stay. I mean, just as you said, we saw how a lot of Nigerians went to the National Assembly to protest what they wanted to see, and the eager to pass the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. We saw all of that happen, and then at the end of the day, some of the agitations and their warrant was as regards the electronic transmission of results real time, and eventually the National Assembly, the Senate, the House of Rep came out to actually have their own tweak and say, you know what, in a case where we do not have the right mechanism to ensure that we have the real-time transmission of results, we're going to fall back into the manual process. And we saw how speedily the president signed it into law. A lot of persons questioned the speed at which our president did sign into law, if he even went through it. And then there are those who would say it's already an orchestrated plan from the top up until the bottom, and the Senate president was just the tool to use to actualize all of these things. But at the end of the day, the Nigerian people, the Nigerian citizens are the one involved in it. You and I would be the ones to go out to that polls come 2027 to cast your vote.
Yeah.
And interestingly, we have a bit of footprint with what happened on Saturday in Kano, Port Harcourt, and of course Abuja with the election that went on. We saw how the Electoral Act 2026 amendment bill went on. We saw that we still had vote buying, voter apathy. So it's not a case, I don't think it's a case of having this thing being changed every time we want to have an election. It's a case of ensuring that the right mechanism, the persons in charge do the needful to ensure that, we have free and fair election in Nigeria, because that's what the people want.
Quite thought-provoking. Well, let's have your thoughts.
Talking about free and fair election in Nigeria, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Oh.
As far we are still where we are.
Are you bringing a bad message to the podium?
Yes. Honestly speaking, I personally don't see that happening.
From what you perceive?
Yeah, from everything we've seen thus far. Someone came out yesterday to say the opposition party gave them their best hand as a minister. What do you mean by that statement? It's a service senator. So when we talk about free, fair election, a better election, I think we should go beyond this whole manual signing of papers. Ain't going to help us. I've always said that, and I'll continue to say that. If I can sit at the comfort of my home and send you 5,000 naira without going to the bank via transfer, right? If anything happens, it bounces back, or probably it didn't go through. The only thing I need to go do is to go and lay a complaint. After 24 hours or 48 hours, as the case may be, I get my money back. I send it again to you. So why can't we go to that extent? If we're saying we're going to digital as Nigeria, let's be digital and digital for once and for all. This whole idea of mutilation, I saw some of the result sheet from Gwagwalada area council yesterday. I was carried away. The figure will always be mutilated. That is what the politicians want, because that's where they get their... When you go to court to go and challenge the election, they tell you your evidence is not substantial enough. So we have to go beyond this whole process of manual. People at 21st century people are still going under the sun to go queue to vote. Things that we should go beyond that. When you want to make withdrawal from your ATM, what do? You just go there, you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you're done. Can't we go to that extent in Nigeria? Get to that point where at the comfort of my home, as I'm in the office now, it's an election day. Not because I am an essential service worker, by somehow I can't vote because but if we go real digital, even as an essential service worker, at the comfort of my office, even as I'm at work analyzing the issues on election day, I can also vote. The platform should be there.
Basically, that's a share of what everyone is talking about, because if we want to make sure that the country breathes properly as regards having these electoral laws as reforms deepened to bring about trust, then we should involve the people.
Absolutely.
Questions about the speed at which the president passed the bill into law or gave his assent. But again, if it's too slow, Nigerians will speak. Now, the president was speedy on it. So what was the qualms about it?
Well, I know what's the speed about.
Basically, yeah. But if we're to look at it closely, sometimes like what Anu said, it could take your mind back, as in, or get you intrigued. Why should the president hurry over that? Does it mean that the legal document, or isn't a legal document that should be given a thorough examination, or is it that he didn't do the needful to go through it, or was it that it was already planned, like what Anu said? Well, these are all divergent opinions. We will be having analysts, of course, to dissect all of this. And when we come back, because we're going to basically be going to Abuja Network Center, let's get to see what you've got on your plate, and of course, Lagos Network Center. When we come back, Lawrence will also be giving us a bite on what we're going to be having outside, the electoral reforms in the Benin studio. Well, over to you, Dominic.
We've set the pace for today's discussion. Already, we're looking at the Electoral Act also, but this time around, we want to see how it was applied at the just concluded area council election. Just like Lawrence was making reference to some of the results for Gwagwalada. Well, we are actually on the field and we saw what actually transpired. And it's quite unfortunate, if I'll put it that way. You know, this election and the one we had in Kano and Rivers State was supposed to be the first test for the new Electoral Act, and so much conversation from that very exercise that happened on Saturday. So this morning we'll be looking at the way forward, some of the glitches, like Lawrence mentioned earlier, that were observed during the FCT election. How do we begin to correct them going into other off-cycle elections that are coming up? Don't forget Oshun is there and the rest of them. And then we now look at those faults. Some persons blamed INEC for the low turnout of voters, while others said it is the fault of the politicians who failed to educate their citizens, or those who are supposed to come out to vote regularly. But the scenario in FCT is quite different when you look at other states. FCT has just 6 area council, but I'll leave that for our in-house analyst. NOB will be here to join us. She was one of those conveners who have always been at the National Assembly canvassing for a change or for a halt to that electoral bill that was signed, orally signed by the president. So she will be in the studio later in the day to tell us what transpired during the FCT election and the way forward as we march into 2027, where the Electoral Act will be used properly to see how we move democracy forward. So that will be our focus from our Abuja end this morning, Philip.
Dominic, quite thoughtful. Let's get your thoughts on what you've got on your plate. Patricia from our Lagos Network Center.
Thank you, Philip. Today we're not going to be looking at politics. Anyway, we're going to be looking at the education policy and reforms in Nigeria. But if I could contribute from taking a lead from what Lawrence said, I don't know if we'll be able to get it right come 2027, because they just concluded elections in Abuja. We saw what happened there. We saw the vote buying. We saw that some results were even T-Pest, you know. So what was T-Pest doing in the result sheet? I mean, are you saying that the figures that was given was wrong and you T-Pest to give the right figure? You know, we're far from getting it right if we continue the way we are going here in Nigeria. Come 2027 is around the corner. But anyway, from our Lagos Network studio, we won't be looking at politics this morning. We will be talking education in Nigeria and its reforms, analyzing Nigeria's education system and potential improvements. I mean, you know, nobody's looking at that. We are just talking politics, how to win the elections in 2027. We have not actually taken our time to look into the education system in Nigeria. Are we doing the right thing as a country when it comes to education? Why are most Nigerian parents, especially the top politicians, sending their children abroad to study? Is it that the Nigerian system, the Nigerian education system, it's not working properly? Those are the things we're going to be looking at. And of course, I'm going to be having Professor of Mathematics joining me later in the day to do this analysis. Philip.
Patricia, there's never too much time to dedicate on education, because if we look at it critically, education becomes the bedrock upon which all that has to do with society is learned and, of course, formed. Well, let's quickly get your attention, Lawrence. I know you've got a lot to feel
absolutely, so much to talk about. Politics. 2027 is around the corner still, so we always talk about politics. Even despite the fact that my colleague in Lagos will be looking at education. Nice one, amazing one. Without education, there will be no politics. It's someone that is educated that will know whether you're going to mutilate you're going to mutilate the form or not. But look at politics and the church. You know, the church is a very vital, that's religion basically, is a very vital tool. If you look at what's happening now about the timetable of the election, it's been shifted because some section of religions will be fasting during that period, another section will be fasting, you know, the whole issue around.
So we look at the role of the church in politics.
That will be from one hand, and also look at our local government development in Edo State. Yesterday, some tractors was handed to the 18 local government councils tractors in the state.
About 54 tractors in number.
54 tractors thereabout.
Okay.
So let's see how that will improve the life of the common man in the locality. So all of that also have packed up for you in Benin Network Center.
Well, according to the governor, he said that's part of his administration on the Shine agenda to bring about development at the grassroots. But how do you feel that at the level of the grassroots?
Oh, well, there are those who would say that our governor is indeed a working one. Right, he's working and Edo is shining. Yesterday, we saw the beautiful ceremony they had there in Edo State, where we had the Minister of the FCT was live here in Benin. We also had Adams Ali Oshomole, the senator, right here, and it was actually a beautiful one to behold. And there were also some, glitches.
Glitches. You don't want to talk about
them on TMI socials.
You don't want to talk
about you have them on TMI socials.
But just maybe.
Absolutely.
Well, quite a huge development, basically, because we should be looking at how we can drive grassroots development at the local level. Because if you take away the local level, you don't focus on how to develop it, it's going to affect the other strata. Absolutely. And so it's quite a high time government looked into this and see how all of this. We want to see development. We want to see how these 54, tractors would do wonders, because we still have earth roads. And,
absolutely.
Apart from the tractors, we want to see, quota coming upon the
local government can actually
want to see every road stretched out, beautifully, like what you said, beautifully.
Local government can tar roads.
Yes.
They have the money, they have the resources. There's local government autonomy now. They have money.
You can't say they have the money.
They have money.
It depends on if the money is fully released.
The local government have money. I quote them here. The local government have
money.
Do
that. We'll do that in our subsequent conversation. We'll take a short break, after which we come speedily on the pages of the newspaper. Do stay.
This is Aqua Game, a popular game in Africa played by our ancestors to entertain themselves after each day of farming. It is also relevant in our coronation in Africa. It is a sport and indeed very interesting, as every seed had a role in the game. Playtime is 45 minutes per set. There is no age limit as long as you can spin aqua seed. Ayo or aqua game, known as the game of intellectual. This game requires a lot of mathematical skills. Aqua game is played with carved wooden box containing 12 holes.
Good to know you're still there, and let's quickly take a read on the pages of the newspaper as we see the first popping on the screen, where we have Daily Trust that it says, while leader, coalition demands release and probe. Well, you have the photos there, protests, and of course, all that has to do with, making demands. And of course, we have it says, reprisals escalate killings in Plateau. A lot we can say about that on Daily Trust. Let's get to the next.
Well, up next, we have the Nation newspaper leading with the major headline that says, State Police can't wait. Tinubu tells governors, and we have interesting pictures on the front page of the Nation newspaper. With the ceremony that happened yesterday in Edo State, Nigeria, we see our governor, Senator Monday Okpebholo. Right in the middle, we have the big man himself, Minister Nyesom Wike. We also see Senator Adams as Ali Oshimole right there. Beautiful one to behold. Well, pick up a copy of the Nation to get into the details.
All right, quickly, the Nigerian Tribune is leading with a Lagos airport fire, 6 injured, 14 trapped persons rescued. Inferno started from a server room, who is saying the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, is speaking. Airspace temporarily closed, airports reopens. You can find that on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. You can also find on page 4, Genco's cry out, lament 6.2 trillion naira debt. That's also on the Tribune. And finally there, we will establish a state police. Tinubu reaffirms, telling state governors.
Quite interesting raid, most especially as we look at the Lagos airports, the challenge facing that, and of course the need for the government not to just be reactive, but proactive, because that's quite an important issue.
We took that yesterday.
Yeah,
on the
we
news
keep having all of this,
breaking.
and for it not to escalate, it's quite important that it's nipped in the bud.
Absolutely.
Of course, every single time we have the conversation regarding having a proactive government on par rather than a reactive one. But thankfully yesterday, with the case that happened in MM2 in Lagos State, Nigeria, there was no casualties. But a lot of persons questioned the timing of the fire service. Do we have effective fire service in Nigeria? That's another conversation entirely. When cases like this happen, we saw the one that happened in a community in the north, how it's raged every single thing in that market, and this is coming in again. But we thank God that it's not more than what we are seeing right now.
Most of the times when we use this whole "we thank God," when things we're supposed to do naturally, we're not doing it. On a norm, normally, every ward or street, 2 or 3 streets, ought to have a standby fire service. So what happens if a private home is burning? Is a question that thought ran through my head when I got home after the news yesterday. What happens if a street that is distant from the city center, where you have fire trucks?
The government will react.
How will they react? How will they react?
Absolutely. But then again, this is Nigeria. I once lived in an apartment that the owner of the apartment thought it needful to have a fire extinguisher right there in front. There's persons who have sense.
Exactly. There are persons who have sense. Common sense.
Yeah, Mr. Common Sense. Common sense is not
really
so
common.
There are persons who have sense, who are, in fact, in that house they had fire blankets, so that perhaps when you're cooking in the house. But how many persons can actually use?
But how much is the rent of that house as well?
That's why I say education truly matters. But let's hope that
education truly matters.
Of course, and it's key. Let's hope that moving forward we have a reactive government, just as we get to see right here in
a proactive rather than reactive.
Proactive rather than reactive government in Nigeria.
Well, that's much we can take on the pages of the newspaper. Big thanks, and do well to take a read on the pages by getting to the closest vendor closest to you, or you just go online. We take a short break, and then we do the nitty-gritty about the first topic we're going to be looking at as regards the 2026 Electoral Act amendment, and of course its implications for 2027. You will miss out on this.
Top on the list of the initiates was the eldest son of the Esama of Benin and former governor of Edo State, Chief Lucky Nosakare Igbenedion. 11 of his siblings, namely Bright Ayamekwe Igbenedion, Honorable Charles Osenwige Igbenedion, Peter Osawari Igbenedion, Dr. Fred Osanwi Igbenedion, Barrister Mike Osare Igbenedion, Efosa Douglas Igbenedion, Ukbonwa Enes Igbenedion, Osawe Igbenedion, Edosa Igbenedion, Dr. Daniel Omorige Igbenedion, Agbon Steve Igbenedion, as well as the Executive Director Operations, ITV and Radio, Chief Elder Ugbeide Nwonse. It was a vital aspect of Okada community's cultural heritage, which emphasized the significance of age, responsibility, and community service. Over 50 notable sons of Okada were also initiated. According to tradition and customs, those initiated, dressed in white traditional attire, were made to undergo some rituals, while the Odionwe pronounces blessings on them and assisted them to take a seat with the elders.
Of course, reactions still great in the aspect of the Electoral Act amendment, that comes up with a lot of questions, but we see it as a legal document, but not only as that, but it should also bring about, credibility and, of course, transparency and the people's trust. Some say all of this could be a litmus test if we're going to be having voter apathy. Others say, well, all of this will also be a litmus test if democracy in Nigeria will be strengthened the more with this, development. Well, joining me to discuss this, I have the former special advisor to the governor of Edo State on youth affairs, Shedrack Udubai. Thanks for joining.
Thank you very much, Sir Philip. It's a pleasure being here this morning. Good morning, my good people of Nigeria.
I know it's not going to be topsy-turvy. It's just let's feel your pulse, because I understand the fact that, all through way back, we've been craving for an opportunity to have, transmission of election results at real time. And what do you see as this development on the electoral amendment?
Yes, I saw the actions that took place in the last weeks before the law was eventually passed. We saw a voice vote that was dubiously given away to the nays, even when given the years when the nays even had it at the National Assembly, speaking about the House of Reps. And they also saw the protests that ensued, how persons mobilized the House of Assembly, and they sustained the prayer for a couple of days before they were tear gassed out of the scene. I also saw the speed at which Bola Ahmed Tinubu quickly endorsed the Electoral Act as though it was the ultimate rules. But first of all, it's relatively unfair for me to say the Electoral Act does not mean so much for Nigerians, or perhaps not a step in the right direction. And because there are some genuine clauses there that means that to a large extent reflects forward progress for the Nigerian democracy. Yes, it's positive. For example, there's one that says that your PVCs cannot be downloaded online from the INEC website, and with that online copy you can go to the polling unit and vote. So the idea of you not being able to collect your PVCs is not a thing of the past. And then there are a few other things that were done. They said they reduced the timing of funding for INEC from 1 year to 6 months. I don't know how that will help the Nigerian democracy, but it was there. And they also said the cards that was needed for voters' cards registration, they've removed the voters' the national identity card and the driver's license. No explanation was given to that when I made my inquiries. They've also said to a large extent that they've reduced the timeline for submission of names of candidates to INEC. And then when I inquired, they said they did all of that because they needed to reduce what called the standing political tensions that occurred during this long period of time, and to engineer some institutional reforms and efficiency amongst the agencies. But there are two major clauses. There are two major clauses because this Electoral Act, in as much as it appears to be a step in the right direction, is a forward-moving step. But the law is only as strong as its weakest clause. There are two clauses that have raised some serious contentions: the issue of electronic transmission of results and the abolition of indirect primaries, usually called the delegate system. Those are the two major areas that appears to have some discussion where people are still expressing opinions for and against. When you talk about the electronic transmission of results, of course, one thing I want to state clearly is that it is not the technology that failed in 2023. What failed is the institution. Electronic transmission of results took place. It was the institution that shut down the platform and gave dubious excuses. In states like Rivers, Lagos, Kogi, and some of the northern states, the values of results, the numbers that were expressed in IREV, as at the time we saw it, is relatively very different from what was announced in the INEC Collation Center. But yet, INEC did not offer any form of accountability or explanation to this disparity between the results in the IREV system and the one that was announced in the collation centers.
So you see it as deliberate?
Yes, it's deliberate. When we moved to the court, it was the National Assembly that now put a nail on the casket by saying that IREV is only the Supreme Court, saying that IREV is only a VPOTA and it's not a legal collation system whereby results can be put together and the result and a winner declared. That is to say, you can literally sit down in your house and watch your candidate win in IREV, only for you to hear a different result. It will lose under the manual collation of INEC and eventually also lose when you get to the Supreme Court. So the truth is that this technology ought to be reinforced. Yes, there is now compulsory transmission of results electronically, but they've also left a small hole, a dubious clause, a loophole, whereby it will be explored to say if there is failure in electronic transmission that at three time. No, they didn't want every time. They said there's electronic transmission that INEC will fall back to the payee from ECHA as the primary source of collation. What is to say? The law is silent about what failure is. The law did not tell us exactly what does failure entails. At what level, who exactly is the body that will announce failure? Is it INEC? At what level do we have to fall back to the from ECHA? The law was silent on that. And also the issue of Punishment for stars, perhaps it was the same INEC who declared failure in 2023. If they declare failure again in 2027, what exactly is the loophole? There's no punishment, there's no consequences for any individual, official, or institution that engineers such failure to occur for personal or perceived interest. So those lacunas that's been left by the law, not declaring what failure is or when failure will be declared, or the institutions around it, leaves loopholes. So we consider that when you take this case to these issues of electoral to court, it may likely not stand the test of time because there will be multiple interpretations. If the judges are perhaps going to be reinterpreting it to influence the interest of one party, it could be done in one way or the other. So that to a large extent is a loophole, a lacuna that we have cited. Once the way forward, we have said, okay, after the electoral act has been passed, what is now left is the INEC guidelines. The Nigerian people must rise to the occasion to ensure that INEC clearly stipulates the conditions for failure. Who will announce that there is failure in the electronic system, the body that will discharge the punishment. They will clearly outline what failure is and all the parameters that will describe it. And Nigeria people must scrutinize it clearly to understand that we have an even fighting ground for all political platforms. That is where we are now. We are just hoping, though the INEC guidelines is not admissible in court, but to help shape the process and give direction to what failure is, as to be interpreted in court in subsequent engagement. That is where we are now. If the Nigerian judiciary was truly interested, the Nigerian Senate was genuinely interested in giving the aspirations and reflections to the people, it would have been real-time electoral of result without any of these dubious loopholes to say because of electoral, because even the word real-time was not clearly specified. If the electronic, if the real-time was in the one that was conducted by the House of Reps, but real-time was not in the House of Senate, when they went for a joint committee to harmonize, real-time fell off the law. So the law has been passed and there is no return. So that is to say, there is no law binding the PO, the polling officer, when to upload the results. He can choose to tell you when he gets to the station, we upload it. He will tell you, I will upload it 1 week later, 1 month later. So they may not be. So when they say return, does mean that after the election, it should be transmitted almost immediately, with or without network. Okay. That one is not there.
Okay.
So all of those lacunas are there.
Yeah. So if we are to look at this, just like you said, it will bring about issues surrounding litigations.
Yes.
That may not pull through.
Yes.
But again, how do we close the gap? Because we understand the fact that it's all about the voters. It's all about the people. And if you take a close look at the elections, even at the FCT and other environs, recently, it also speaks about the aspect of the readiness of the people in terms of, taking control, taking charge of their elections. If we can get it at the point of Parliament Acts, can't we get it as a people to make sure that votes are counted?
The challenge is this: that first of all, the Nigerian nation state is not able to build the required trust of the Nigerian people on the electoral system. The people have not come to have faith in the system to say, okay, when we go to the polling unit, our vote will eventually count. And the instrumentalities, the modalities, and the requirements to ensure that the vote counts is what the Nigerian Senate has inhibited, or the Nigerian legislature has prevented the Nigerian people from having. What they want is simple real-time transmission of results. And that to a large extent would have endeared. You know what it means for you to sit in your house from the comfort of your phone and you see your result begin to fly from your polling unit after voting. You see that you are 53 people voted. Whether you win or you lose is immaterial. You see that it's only 53 people voted for ADC. And after you leave for your house, you go home. You see that there's a word result that has been collated and it has been uploaded. And from the covenant of your house, you see again, this is my word result. Or you click it open. And you see that the people who voted for PDP for ADC in your unit was 53. It's the same 53 that is there. Again, you screw. You see that in the local government, after a couple of hours, maybe in the midnight, they upload the results for your local government. You go there and go and check. If it was 730 people that voted for ADC in that your ward, it's still reflected at the local government collation results. That to a large extent will build some level of trust and confidence in the process. But to not say that you do not believe so much, you not say that, Nigeria, because what I see there clearly is this. The Nigerian legislature, the judiciary is no longer thinking, the legislature is no longer thinking for the people. They were pretending to be thinking for INEC, as though INEC is the one who they are mandated to protect. Whereas INEC has said, prepare the laws. We have the capacity to give you full-fledged electoral transmission, where they have dubiously and ceremoniously wanted to hoodwink it. What we say is that legitimate legislations, processes that we tend to build the integrity of the electoral process are being sidelined while they are shopping for trying to defend the loopholes that will allow them to rig themselves to office. All right. If a man is popular, if he has the capacity, then why prevent the people from expressing?
Okay, as sensitive as this topic is, we're going to be taking a very short break, and after which we are standing frontiers of the discussion. Do stay. thank you so much for being there. While we had a break, we were opportunity to be joined by Honorable Frank Amego, a lecturer, University of Benin. Big thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Yeah, we have upon us the 2026 Electoral Act Amendment. I don't know how you grade that, and of course, its implications for 2027 elections.
Yes, it's a wonderful development, to the best of my knowledge.
It's a welcome development.
Yes, I won't scan through the various provisions there. I know no matter how we would have done it, there will still be some persons that will not agree with you. If you allow some persons, they will tell you that God ought not to have created them in Africa. It should have been created somewhere in the US, Canada, and the rest. So there is no perfect system as far as humanity is concerned. What we tend to do is we try to be dynamic, be adjustable within to circumstances. And Nigerians are good at that. They can adjust to any situation, good or bad.
Okay, but again, let's quickly look at the proviso, of course, the clause that wasn't really, given attention, most especially as regards, transmitting of election results at real time. Nigerians have basically been waiting for that. And of course, that happens to be part of the failures we had in the 2023 general elections. Are you saying with this deficit or gap in the Amendment Act as we have it today, as given assent to by the President, do you say that is right?
That's clause 60.
Oh, yes.
And the initial postulation was it should be transmitted right from the polling unit. And in the wisdom of Mr. President, he's the one representing us. And commonly as it is, if you use this studio, for instance, now, and you are casting a particular information or news, even as much as you read from the screen, there is a paper backup in case the system malfunctions. That's EC8A. And to that effect, it would be appropriate to have that backup, because this information were documented ab initio before it was transmitted.
At the age we're in Nigeria, are you saying that we also have network challenges that could also affect the transmission of election results at rate?
Is to forestall possible breakdown of electronic transmission. Let's just have it. And if you argue that with me now, I will come back and argue that henceforth, no paperwork in this studio.
But again, are you not considering the elements of corruption that could also, mingle with it? Because if you leave a little gap,
yes,
at the point where election results are being transmitted, you see different figures entirely, because at collation point, it changes. Aren't you scared about that? Because that's exactly what Nigerians or the voters or the electorate are really, having, most especially increasing voter apathy. A situation where we have electoral reforms that is supposed to be, deepening electoral, democratic governance, that is supposed to bring about transparency and credibility, is bringing the otherwise. Aren't you scared about that?
What you're saying now is not right before us as a possibility. We are just apprehensive of the way Nigeria has been moving on all these years. And if I were in the position of the president, I still would have done the same. As you introduced me, I'm a teacher. And if we are going to upload results came from somewhere. And most times there will be a challenge along that line. They revert to the hard copy.
Okay.
You do the hard copy.
Okay.
So the hard copy is a backup. There's no corruption here. We are just afraid of precedents that it might, which ordinarily might not be at the end of the day. And it has not been tested to use this combination of electronic and paperwork, the EC8A form. Let's test run it. If you look at other parts of the acts that the president signed into law, you have a future in this country. For instance, the person that refuses to tamper, the person that decides to tamper with the RF will go for 6 months imprisonment or 500,000 naira.
Okay. Why we'll talk about that probably later on. Let me get your reactions over it, because he just mentioned the fact that this aspect of collation manually is standing in case election transmission of results, fails?
I've listened to the argument very clearly, and he attempts to make some sense until you drill into it. First of all, I'm not saying there should be abolition of the information CHA. Okay. There's never a time they will do results and not be documented on paper. But the idea is that when you now shop to get the electronic, to make it look as though it's secondary or pedestrian or trivial to that of the paper, then on what basis do we now want to focus on electronic? What we are saying is that both of them should carry equal weight. There was a mandatory, because when you finish an examination result, you must write it on paper. It's a standard requirement. Also, there must be electronic transmission result. And in collation, there must be cross-fertilization of what is online at polling unit versus what is on ground, on paper. So to now say that when the online phase should be jettisoned and we should revert totally to paper is an act in error. It takes us back to where we are coming from. It's an act of insecurity. See, as I was saying, it's irritating when Nigerian government just sit there every single time and they deliberately want to focus on ambiguity rather than clarity. Okay. This one is obvious and they choose to want to leave loopholes. The legislation that we uphold integrity and transparency is being jettisoned to follow what will result to chaos. If we go to election, ask him now, what will now determine what failure is?
Okay, how does this impinge on the 2027 election?
I strongly believe that they have created more problem in the future. Yes, a trade transition will now go to court. People will now begin to bring out what was the sample on beavers. Obviously, screenshots of beavers will now come out in public domain. There will be some states where the presidency have perceived interest. And there will be shutdown of telecommunication network. There will be shutdown of they will do anything just to ascribe failure to that paper. Then they take the collation to the unit. Results that have taken place in what happens is this. It's hard for now today to now rig the polling unit. What happens is that they take the ECHA from the polling unit. Before it moves from ECHA to ECHB, they begin to mutilate it. It happens even in Lagos State back election. There's actual manipulation of results at the work collection centers. Why don't they revert to the polling unit to say, okay, when the result goes to the local government, let us now check what came out in those units. They never do so. Because when they are alleged to be failure, they continue with the corrupt processes. It's just a loophole to sabotage the process.
Okay, well, let's get your shots as regards, implications for 2027.
I was just wondering, I think I know you very well. I know I can stand and vouch for you that you have never been involved in the election. You are talking as an expert or as if you have been rigging. All these things will not matter to their lives. They won't.
Okay, but how do we build the trust of the people come 2027?
The trust is there.
The predicament that people are already having about the Amendment Act.
It's not a predicament to me.
Okay.
Because
no, I'm talking about the gaps.
Yeah, there's no subjugation. If you want to insist, the thing is, we just want to argue about it.
Okay, but how do we make the people trust the process?
Yes,
we had the glitches in 2023. And with this development, there could also be possible, glitches that could
those glitches
in the aspect of the manual collation.
Those challenges
that could also break the trust that people have in the process.
The challenges we experienced in 2023, this amendment of the 2022 Electoral Act
tackles it. Tackles it?
Yes, it should. It should. Because that's true. There's so many clauses, clause 3, clause 40 something. You discover that the Nigerians most times we don't want a change.
Okay.
And it's a change that is we are faced with right now. We are just calculating. It's just like we're going to play football. That if they play towards the left, we'll go to the right.
Okay, quickly, what's the projection for 2027 elections looking at what we have?
Perfect.
Perfect.
It's really perfect.
Wow,
it will shock all. We're going to come back here.
Huge.
We'll come back here to discuss the perfection.
All right.
Then I want to appeal that you bring two of us back. Then you have a recap of what we have discussed.
Okay.
Then you will see him apologize.
By this, are you saying that there's going to be less litigations? Or
less. To the extent that even the INEC funding.
We hope to see that.
INEC funding does not have to go through the bureaucracy of the executive or whatever. So it has been created.
All right.
So enable them have a kind of an unbiased election.
I take that as your final shot on this segment. Let's get your final thought.
I see the legislation as a piece of instrument, a step forward inside, but with some step backward. Lucratively hidden by the loopholes. So I strongly believe that they will want to outsmart the system, the APC. They are the ones who make the rule, they call the shots. They own majority of the National Assembly. We saw the people shouted, nay! But they said the year have it. So we've seen all of these attempts. It's no longer hidden in plain sight. And we know they want to expand that issue of failure they want to surreptitiously and nicodemously go behind the door to say failure has occurred. But we know that also the stronghold of the APC now is in the south, and yet there's almost widespread network in all the states in the south. So let's see where they will not incur failure, and we are waiting for them patiently.
Thank you. Big thanks, Shedra Kudugbai, former SSA to the Governor of Edo State on Youth Affairs, and of course, big thanks to you, Honorable Frank Amigo, lecturer at University of Benin. This is where we draw the curtains on this segment, but don't forget we're still also looking at another issue or topic that regards ahead 2027 elections, where Lawrence will be taking a ride on the role of the church in politics. Do stay.
ITV, certainly the best.
All right, it's a beautiful morning as well, and we'll stay on the program this morning on ITV. So much to talk about, so much to unpack ahead of 2027 general elections. So the coast seems to be a bit clear. Before you know it, campaign is going to start, and this campaign is going to run through every strata of Nigeria, from politics even to the church. So I want to look at the role of the church in politics. What can the church really do? We see some of those politicians only during election they visit the churches. You know, they go there to meet the head pastors for prayers, you know, and all that, just because those are strategies also for them to win election. But what is truly and really the role of the church in politics? I have a distinguished man of God. He's a preacher of the word and also a teacher of the word, Reverend Lucky Ajanaku. He's a senior pastor of the Streams of Hope Ministry International, or Christian Ministry International, and he's live here with me in the studio to give us an insight of what the church can actually do when it comes to politics. Reverend, good morning and good to have you.
Same here.
Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
All right, let's start unpacking the conversation. You know, over time, someone sang a song, they said religion is politics. You know, one of our musicians, that religion is politics. But let's look at politics generally and the church? How do we place it side by side? Like I said in my intro, during election campaigns, you see some of these politicians who most of them don't go to church. But when it comes to election period, they're always visiting one church to the other. What really is the role of the church when it comes to politics ahead of 2027 and generally? Let's begin with that.
All right. Thanks for having me. And good morning to our team and viewers out there. First of all, let's begin with politics.
Yeah.
What's politics? I think one of the basic definitions for the word politics is about activities that are associated with the governance of a people.
Yeah.
Take note of the word a people. Not just a particular set of people, but generally a people. And that makes it safe to submit that you can't alienate, you can't sever the church, which is made up of a people also, from governance and politics. Then what should be the role of the church? The church, whether we accept or decline it, the church remains the conscience of the nation.
Okay.
And like the conscience of a man, there are two major roles that the conscience plays.
Yeah.
First, it deals with you as a friend, throws caution, cautions you on what line to cross and what line not to cross, what step to take, what step not to take, what to do and what not to do, and how to do. You see, whatever we do, there's a right and a wrong way of doing them. The choice is always ours.
Yeah.
Then the conscience treats you first like a friend. Then when all is said and done, it now treats you like a judge.
Okay.
What conscience is to the man, the church is to the nation.
What conscience is to the man,
the church is to the nation.
Okay.
And so the church has not just a role to play in how the nation is governed, but a very major role.
Yeah.
The scriptures are clear: when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Okay. The church must, you made mention of how when elections are by the corner, politicians who don't even go to church, they troop to the church to seek for votes. Seek for votes in church. That tells us, that speaks volume about the role that the church has to play. It tells us that one, the church does not just have a voice, the church is a voice.
The church is the voice.
Is a voice, especially being the conscience of the nation. An average politician who goes to the church to, seek votes seek acceptance from members of the church, knows and understands that probably without the church, there can't be a reasonable headway in the governance of the nation. About what the role of the church should be, I think, in my personal opinion, the role of the church should be very, very neutral.
Okay. I think I love that statement.
Yeah, should be very, very neutral.
Okay.
Now, we're talking about the church as a body.
As a body, not as a building or a denomination.
The church as a body.
Yeah.
Her role should be neutral. I stumbled into a clip some time ago. There's this great servant of God in this state of ours. One of his branch pastors was vying for a political office, in this state. And then he went to the headquarters of the ministry. And then his senior pastor introduced him to the church, to the congregation, and announced to the congregation that he was gunning for
a political
office. During the same period, within the same space, other persons from other political parties that were vying for the same office, the same position, came, and he also accepted them. That's commendable.
Okay.
Very, very commendable. All right? So that's why I said, in my opinion, the church's position should be neutral.
Okay.
That is not to say that privately we can't give some wise counsel to the people we pastor who follow us. All right. So the church position should be neutral, but not to be ignored completely.
All right. Let's now look at a Christian, like someone who is in Christ, not a denomination now. You know, I was telling someone in my church recently, I said, if one of our big men of God in Nigeria today decide to contest or run for presidency, the church might not vote for him. Probably he will not share money like the guy out there on the other side of the divide is sharing money. Because what we've seen in our political space is a money kind of politics over the years. Take it or leave it. It is the party A that is sharing highest on election day, that even the Christian who has a Christian brother running for a position will vote for while leaving his or her Christian brother. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. So in these whole circumstances, what should fellow believers or Christians do to their brothers? Because we see people in the other religions too, when their person is there, they garner the support that they need and give to the person. So shouldn't it be that, because like you said, the church is a very powerful, it's as important as, like you mentioned earlier. So what should be the role of believers too in supporting their own when it comes to political office? That's someone who's vying for a political office.
Lawrence, I'll be very, very straightforward on this.
Yeah.
I think we are gradually gravitating towards a system where we do not vote for parties.
Yeah.
We do not vote just for persons, and we do not vote for relationships, but we vote for integrity.
Yeah.
We vote for accountability. We vote for responsibility. We vote for honesty. And whoever has all of the, you know, in can I quote scripture?
You, of course, you're free to quote scriptures.
In Acts chapter 6, you know what Peter said to them in Acts chapter 6? He said, choose from among you men of honest report, filled with the Holy Ghost and wisdom. Men of honest report, filled with the Holy Ghost and wisdom. The age of the person's association with you people notwithstanding, if he lacks honest reports, don't choose him. If he's not filled with the Holy Ghost and wisdom, don't choose him. All right? If I've heard talks about someone occupying a political office in a position of power, and then there's a contract to be awarded, and then he awards it to someone close to him.
They are their allies.
That cannot be totally wrong. The question should be, can he deliver?
Exactly.
If the person can deliver. So it's not about if, for example, let me take the local assembly and privilege to pastor, for example.
Yeah.
I can't come to church and stand and say because someone inside the church is contesting for a political office that the church must vote for that person. Even when I know he lacks credibility
and integrity.
He lacks integrity.
Just like you said.
He's dishonest. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is that we've always heard that politics is a dirty game. It's not a dirty game. It is the players that are dirty. Like I've often said to people, marriages don't fail. It is married people that
fails. Not marriage and not the institution.
Not the institution. If it is the institution that fails, then there will be no successful one at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So it's not, it's high time we started. Okay. I think, like I did say earlier, that the role of the church should be neutral. The major responsibility of the church should be adequately sensitizing
the members
of the assemblies.
Okay, that's a
and also, let me say this without any form of apology, also encourage her members to be involved in
the process.
Because the truth of the matter is that, to a very great extent, if you are not on the table making decisions, you soon become the menu on the table.
Absolutely.
And if it is if it is about activities that are associated with the governance of a people, you must be concerned
about it.
You must be interested in how you are governed and who governs you. So the church, I think that the church has lagged behind for too long.
They've lagged
behind for too long. However, when it is election time, we should not bring in sentiments and emotions that are covered with the face of religion. Okay. That because this person is a Christian or a pastor, he's the one that must be voted for. The question should be whether he is capable or not.
Okay. All right, we're about to wrap up this conversation. Always press for time on issues like this. But I know as the politics and politics begin to unfold, we will also be looking at this role intermittently, and you always be around to always talk to us. Definitely. But quickly before I let you go, 2027 is around the corner. The campaigns will soon start. Like I said, you will see them visiting local assemblies. No, by INEC timetable, it has not started.
All right, I agree
but
with you.
Somehow politicians have started doing their thing. So we work with INEC timetable. So when it eventually start, like I told you, I've seen some politicians, they've started visiting somehow secretly. What should be the role of the local assembly? One, the local assembly. Then two, the body of Christ, like you mentioned, not the building or the denomination. What should be their role in all of this as we wrap up this conversation?
Thank you, Lawrence. Like I did say earlier, the role of the body of Christ should be neutral.
Okay.
And then it should be neutral. That is not to say that her fundamental responsibilities should not be adequately carried out. Like you did mention, some of them are already trooping to the churches.
Absolutely.
To seek, like I said at the onset it tells any right-thinking Nigerian or individual that the church has a major role to play, which an average politician has not been able to ignore that. You can choose to even ignore it, but you can't deny it, that the church has a major role to play. Now, if they come to church, first of all, the church is a public place.
Yeah, it is.
The doors can never be shut against anybody.
Absolutely.
Okay? When they come, they are most welcomed. However, their visit must be well defined and straightened out.
Okay.
For example, if you come to the church where I am a pastor, of course, you can't just come unannounced. You shouldn't. That's not acceptable. But if whoever that is presiding over the assembly has agreed that you should come, it is because you are welcomed. And then when you come, there should be a limit to what privileges that you can be given. For example, I won't give you my pulpit to talk from.
But some people do that.
They probably have their reasons for doing that.
Okay.
I can introduce you, but it's not a campaign ground.
Absolutely.
It's not a campaign ground. All right? I can introduce you if I so wish. I can introduce you.
You have the discretion to or not to.
Then at the end of the day, even right in your presence, I should be bold enough to tell the people, vote credibility.
Absolutely.
Vote accountability.
Absolutely.
Vote honesty, and all of that. Playing a neutral role where you are neither found wanting nor guilty of any offense.
Reverend Lucky Ajanaku, Senior Pastor, Streams of Hope Christian Ministry. Thank you very much for your time. Like I said, as the event continues to unfold, the role of the church, the body of Christ, like you said, cannot be overemphasized. I will continue to look at this and the role Christians should play in politics and in active politics. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. It's the TMI on the ITV network. We'll take a short break for our next conversation shortly. Stay with us.
We're
Staying with us still on the program this morning on ITV. Like we told you earlier, I'll have so much to unpack on the show this morning, but let's dive into another of our conversation we have on the lineup. Local government development in Edo State. Delivery of equipment to the local government councils yesterday. We saw the ceremony that happened at the Garrick Memorial School field at the Kenwan Road in Benin City, where the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, was around for that ceremony. I want to look at the impact in grassroots and local government development. The special advisor, the senior special assistant rather, to the Edo State Governor on special duties, Alex Uriesi, joins us live on the show this morning, virtually from Abuja. Alex, good morning, and it's a great delight to have you join us on the show. All right, thank you very much. Let's begin to unpack for the next few minutes. The local government, like we've always been told, is the closest to the people. But it seems like that's not what we've seen over the years in Nigeria's local government administration. But what happened yesterday in Edo State? What would you really say? What does it mean to local government development in Edo before we continue to dive in more?
Happened in Edo yesterday what happened yesterday in Edo was a show of practical governance. You know, most of the time we overuse these words and we think they are just likely. They are not likely. This is practicalism in its utmost form. You know, His Excellency didn't just hand over these equipment. 54 in numbers. Don't forget, we just have 18 local governments. 54, which means there were multiple amounts of equipment given to each local government chairman, each local government area. He didn't just give that. He brought a practical person in representation of good governance, which is the person of His Excellency Nyesom Wike. Let's look back to Wike's time in governance. He is one of the governors that did constructions in his state back to back. He has one of the highest level of ratings of construction in his state, which means His Excellency brought somebody of replica to our state to tell us that we are going to replicate the development in Abuja and the development in Rivers in Edo State. Now, don't forget that each local government have their allocation and they have their ability to work. Apart from that, His Excellency has contractors and contracts that has been signed to work in every local government. He now went ahead again to procure equipment that will support these contractors and these local government areas to function better. That is to tell you that been anywhere and everywhere. It is done and sealed. Graders were given, tippers were given, bulldozers were given, rollers were given. Don't forget that every contractor has their procurement for their equipment to work on roads, drainages, and all of that. Now, every local government has extra.
Okay, Alex, let's move into another part of this conversation now. This equipment has been delivered, and we've seen it happen already yesterday. Now let's look at the maintenance of this equipment. How should the local government councils, because we've seen situations whereby the local government no longer grade roads, which should be their primary responsibilities. When you check the act that creates local government under the schedule of the constitution, they don't do all of those things anymore. But now they have this equipment. How far can they utilize it? That is on one hand. Then other persons are also questioning that the public domain ought to know how much this equipment was procured, because it was the taxpayers' money was used, which it's not on the public domain. Let's look at all of this together before we begin to call it a wrap.
The first question that you asked is the job responsibility, job description of the local government chairman and what they should do with this equipment. Before we are even talking about this, we are talking about it only because His Excellency Senator Monday Okpebholo has brought this into action, which means it was never there. Just like you said, roads were never being graded, drainages were never being cleared, things were never being used. But now, going to put into perspective, the local governments have been given more work to do. They have been taxed on responsibility and practical governance. His Excellency is going to be watching. His Excellency is a major stakeholder in supervision. He's going to supervise them, and let's see who is going to fall short of what has been done. Yes, we will start to watch. We will create. I believe we will create. We have the essay on project and construction. That's Phoebe. I'm sure she's going to be involved in supervising and seeing what they are doing with this equipment. And just like it was mentioned yesterday, the equipment are not for renting for other things. The equipment are strictly for the local government. I'm sure the indigene of each local government will be looking out to blow a whistle or to whistle blow if they are used for something else. All of that is going to be put in perspective. As far as for the records for where this money came and how it was, it's nothing serious. It will all be visible for the indigenes to go and look at. We have every right to walk into the government house and walk into the State House of Assembly and ask for where this money came from and what they were used for. It is not hidden records. They are all there for seeing. But don't forget, if this money was stolen, you won't ask this question. But this is practical government at its best, and it has been visible for all of us to see. His Excellency did not just say we are doing this and plenty roads and plenty construction. He has gone to procure more. So we should be asking where this money is coming from, and we should be thanking the governor for showing concern to our state. Our state, we used to be a construction site. Now it is a construction hub, and everything is going to go smoothly. All the bad roads that have been bad, all the drainages that have not been cleared, that have been stopped, that have been idle, are going to be paid attention to right now.
Okay. Yesterday, let's wrap up with this. The House of Assembly resumed this plenary for the new year, 2026. And the first thing they did was to pass a vote of confidence on the governor. From your end, do you think 1 year and few months is worth analyzing and passing the vote of confidence on the governor? Let's wrap up with this.
I will wrap up with this. A year and some months is almost like administration, which is very practical and very true. His Excellency has shown practical governance. A lot of you laughed at my governor. A lot of you said what you wanted to say. But a lot of you that have laughed have come back to start making videos up and down.
Let's correct this, Alex. The media is not part of those who laughed at the governor. People out there. So when you say a lot of you, it's like you're tying into the media. No, we're not. So you can say citizens out there. I think that's the right word to use.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is because practicality itself. That is because it has seen practicality in itself. I can see a lot of people praising the governor, and that is because that only goes to show that there is a report card for something good. When a child goes to school and a child does well, it is being heard everywhere. And this is what is happening. Edo State is now an example to other people and other states. They are trying to find the book on which and how my governor is doing all of this. But it is out there. They can come and meet him. He will answer them. Senator Monday Okpebholo is for Edo State, and Edo State will shine. Edo State is not just shining. Edo State is overshining. And I have the confidence to see what
Okay, thank you very much, Alex Uriesi. From the media, we hope and pray that God continue to help your principal, who is the governor, to continue to do what he is doing for the betterment of the people of Edo State. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight into all of this. Thank you very much for joining us. It's the TMI on the ITV network. We'll take a break to hand you over to my colleagues in Abuja and in Lagos for the continuation of the show. Stay with us.
When I was younger, a lot of things were different. Unfortunately, most of the differences I see now are heartbreaking and are not good at all.
Before now, men were strong, protectors of the weak, fathers, brothers, lovers, sons. Their mere presence guaranteed the safety of women and children.
But what do we have now?
Men harassing and raping women.
Men sexually abusing little girls.
Men battering and killing their wives.
Any form of sexual assault, be it rape or pedophilia, is a killer of human self-esteem.
Women should stop dying in silence. Speak up! The rapist should be stigmatized, not the victim.
Rape. I dread the sound of that word. I think death sentence should be the consequence of such a terrible act.
And you mothers, build trust and confidence in our children.
Morning on ITV is now for us over here in Abuja studio at issues from the concluded yes, concluded. We had no delays or announcement that still as announced. Only those who agree make it to what they feel was not right. So I have a politician, someone who in the someone who everything that played out on Saturday, giving us an insight of what transpired on his own side of the narrative of the election, how they praised or still be blamed politicians for what we saw. One person described as turnout, some said low or out of on that very day. I have Honorable Alas Aske, like I said, a grassroots politician. A very good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
I know you've been here before on issues that have to do with FCT politics, but let me just take you to Saturday. I'll give you an overview of the election very day.
Let me start by thanking God for the victory we have from our team and congratulate my friend, that is Honorable Menu, that won mark and income. So congratulating him, congratulating to what is the is something that I have to here to the election that we are, but I don't know exactly the reason. Election has come and gone, and I think what I will juncture is to call the other party aspirants that they should come and try to join hands with those that win, bring their contribution toward the development of our area council. I see no reason why other people can be able to put much pressure on I must be. No. To win an election, in election, you must be, there must be a winner and a loser. So wherever you serve, you haven't got to go. And if I were to advise that to this club, always say that they should not waste their time more in going here and there and trying to go into litigation or other man. Come on board. Let them join the winners. Let them help the winners so that they can better government in the area council.
I know those who you're upon to join or those who run the council may not really agree with the victory partly go. Looking the way the election turned out, there was so much of vote. Not blame it on a particular party, individuals. We're already at a very zone. I can see NLP. She is someone, a strong advocate of ensuring that we have the right when it comes to or show. Very good morning to you.
Morning, and morning, Nigerians.
Good morning to you, ma.
Thank you.
I seem to be having this audio from NLB's, but we'll get back to you, ma. So I'm talking about the issues of voters. Some of vote by area councils during the Saturday election.
Well, the area council, municipal area council, and I was able as a stakeholder to go from polling on another vote to another. I was able to go see checkmate that has happened in that election. I have never witnessed a vote buying because I called vividly in a polling unit inside Apollo Legislative Quarters that people are they must be paid because they vote. I have seen something of that nature. And I received a text message from other people that people are here, they are not ready to vote until they were paid. I said, no, I don't think it is possible. And let me be open to you. As far as my party
money spent?
Yes. Of course, there is no money.
The EFCC around polling units. That's we had about, some persons were arrested. About 17 million was recovered from polling units, from the trunks of some vehicles. Those persons who went
in which area council, in which ward?
The records are there. We had Kuje, we had Abaji, we have some like that.
So, probably it may happen, but with that, there was only run in the Abuja Municipal Area Council. Stakeholder, those previous elections before now, there is a money given to canvassers. There is a money to stakeholders in order to mobilize some of their supporters being, no, let me come on. There was no any money used by APC on this election. And that probably part of what contributed towards low out of the people's election. Because many, they will not be fed and they will not go into anything. So the end coming out, probably that's what contributed. But I would like to make a question to you as a journalist. Please help me and help Nigerians to find out why the low turnout. Is it money, or there are some reasons behind doing that, targeting one party or the other on 27? Because this is when it was an election day.
But even INEC, it's blamed political parties for low turnout because there was no much sensitization when it comes to area council election. It means you people did not so much on the persons who come out to vote. The attention, I want to be the area council chairman.
No, we have done a lot and we have done all we can as far as APC concerned. Because I can remember in every day that we went for a campaign, we do start our campaign by 8 a.m. and we can end the campaign by 10 p.m. We can go to 20 to 20 different communities, address them. So for
Go!
TV, certainly the best.
In the evening of the initiation day, all the newly initiated Edion danced to the residents of the Odion Way and also visited some homes of the various senior elders, where Chief Elder Ogbeide Onwonse was very conspicuous, especially at the country home of Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Osaro Igbenedion with his family on the night of the initiation.
The same environment. Here you say no movement, and then you are transferring somebody who is living in some city. You take Kabusa, finding out many of their messages. A colleague of mine got her message around 11:35 of the day of the voting to go and locate, meaning to move to the other, to go. Don't bother talking of some people say what benefit, and they just also talk education. Not many time okay of voting. And so when you are not conducting political education, they lose. So it's important for all of us to ensure that these things are done. INEC also, when we're going to 2023 general election, political education, I say, where are the IEC materials from EFCT? We talked about it and people didn't take it seriously. I went to they have a huge directorate of civic education. Where are the materials? The materials are not yet ready. 2 months to the election, and I'm like, are we serious? So what of the monies that are both political education, civic education? Nothing. So intense, very
honorable to some of the issues you just raised over there, from a particular political party, and he was speaking.
On the following morning, as part of the rite to be performed by the newly initiated Edion in Okada town, the initiates, led by Chief Elder Ogbeide Onwonse, visited the Esama of Benin, Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Osaro Igbenedion, at his Okada country home residence to pay homage and appreciate him for all he has done in the development of the community, which has placed Okada in world map. They also thanked him for his role in the success of their ceremony. They commended the Esama of Benin as a custodian of Benin cultural heritage and for revitalizing the age-long tradition of the age-grade ceremony.
us. It's the TMI on the ITV network. Sincere apologies for the break in transmission in our Abuja Network Center. But we're still here in Benin, not alone. A full house, as it has been since we started coming. Anu Luakbo Stevens is still here with me live in the studio. Anu, what's up?
Well, great. A lot of things to talk about.
Absolutely.
The political part of it, majorly, you know, holding down conversation lately since Saturday up until this moment. Yeah. So,
they seem to be the freshest. Before we talk about the whole by-election and council election in Abuja, it's the El-Rufai saga. Everybody was aware last week. His house in Abuja was invaded, ransacked, or rather searched, let's use the statement. But El-Rufai has come out to say, no, I'm going to slam a 1 billion, not 1 million, not 100 million, 1 billion naira lawsuit against the Anti-Graft Agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the ICPC, the DSS, the entire security architecture put together. Your take on that? Do you think this is the right step in the right direction? Because the lawyer said it negates his fundamental right as human. They did not inform him. There was no search warrant. There was no warrant from anywhere. So he has headed to court.
well, he has the right to push together with the lawsuit. But before we even move over to this conversation as regards to the lawsuit, I think the conversation should be, how did El-Rufai and the federal government even get here?
Yeah, how did they get here?
There are those who would say that he shot himself in the leg when he went for that interview with the sister station, and then he said so many things, and then the one that actually broke the camel's back was when he said that he had, initially we heard that it was someone who was able to tap on NSA Ribato's phone, and did hear that he was into some fraudulent activities, of which the federal government came out to debunk and say no, it is not. And from that moment, it was from one shenanigans, I love to say, up until the other. We saw how he was being, his passport was almost seized at the airport. He got almost arrested there, and then he eventually, on his birthday, submitted himself to the EFCC for questioning. He got arrested, he was released, he got rearrested. So it's been a whole lot of back and forth. And there are those who would say that this could have a bit of political undertone somewhat, because take you back to 2022, before the 2023 general election. This was the same person who was having a fun time, a flair time right there in London with the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We saw him dancing and just having this beat of his time. And then there are those who would say, after the fallout, we now seeing that he has been a bit vocal. We saw him join the coalition party, and it's just been from one case to another. Now, with him going on with this case and pushing forward to see it in court, well, let's just hope and see till the end that it will not be just a push off aside, and the case will not just die down like that. Because at the end of the day, this is Nigeria. Why is all of this happening and now with El-Rufai, that he is not in the ruling party, that he is not friends with the current president right now? They do not have a close relationship. But not to forget that, I mean, a couple of years down, they were friends. What really is going on? But as they would say in politics, it's
no permanent friend,
no permanent friend, no permanent enemy, and of course, it's a game of political interest at the end of the day. So never say never. After this time out, we might see that the president might call him back. They just have a chit chat, and like all of the cases die down, right? So I mean, this is Nigeria.
You know, a lot of persons also will also say, if he had passed through that ministerial screening at the Senate, if not for the whole security, what did they use against him again? The security, whatever that was used against him, he didn't pass through the screening. Probably this is where the whole bitterness began or started from, because like you said, he and the president were pals. Everybody saw that when he was still the governor of Kaduna State, as the then governor, but we saw him taking his son to a public school. You know, that scenario was still there. A lot of persons are forgetting. You know, one thing that happened in Nigeria is once a new one happened, we'll forget it pretty soon. You know, so they were good pals, they were friends, they were, you know, political allies. But it seemed like there was a fallout immediately after that screening that he did not make through to becoming a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So politics or politicians, we always play their politics. While we here as journalists, as the media, we always be here to analyze their politics. But let's move to the next one. the area council elections. I know you have a lot to say about that. That happened in Abuja, the by-elections in Kaduna, Kano, on Rivers. Yeah.
Of course.
So much transpired. A lot of persons said that was not election, especially in areas like Abuja Municipal, that's the city centers, the Asokoro, the Maitama, the Garki, the Gwarimpas and all that. But I saw a result of the incumbent government, that's the APC, clinching more than 40,000 votes in Amak, that's Abuja Municipal. But at the end of the day, they said the turnout was 15%. So I was asking myself, how did he get 40,000 votes when the turnout was 15%?
Okay, so it's no longer news that when it comes to local government election in Nigeria, the ruling party in that state always clinch all of the seats. But there's been a tweak somewhat in Abuja with other parties. But this round, it's in I really from
others.
all of the persons that we have, Professor Yakub,
Mahmoud Yakub,
Mahmoud
the immediate
Yakubu,
past.
and all of those persons that we've had on board. So, well, it's left for him to come out and, you know, single himself out and ensure that the credibility, electoral credibility, has been restored to INEC, that people really have trust. Because, I mean, so many things to talk about as regards the election, especially as we move over to benefited somewhat, because after the election on Saturday, we saw the president give a big kudos to the minister of the FCT and say, oh, a job well done. And now we're seeing Senator Adams Ali Oshimole also saying likewise as well. I mean, I feel like the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, should be studied, because lately in the news, in the political season right here in Nigeria, he has been doing a whole lot. And then there are those who actually are fearing for his aftermath. But after all of this that's going on, would he be be did say that perhaps he has fallen out of luck with the president, and that's why I was seeing all of this, because I mean it's always an unending conversation, especially as we move towards 2027 election.
Absolutely. Like you said, we look forward to seeing some schools when they are writing their first semester exam setting question of such. Critically examine the role of Nyesom Wike in Nigeria's politics. You'll see it happen soon. It'll fly.
I'll never say never, really.
All right, so take a short break now to link up with Lagos Network Center, where Patricia is standing by to take us through education and everything that have to do with education. It's the TMI and the ITV network. Stay with us.
Some days, there comes the Ugemobo Festival, which the Oba celebrates outside the palace gate. A pavilion is built of red cloth where rites are performed to drive away all evil spirits still unsatisfied by the year's sacrifices. The Ugemobo Festival is to commemorate an event in Benin history which dates back to 1504 AD.
Yari, yari, Oba Tope!
The Oba of Benin added a colorful mood to the year's celebration as he walks round the city center amidst cheers. is Anegbete community, situated in Isako Central Local Government Area of Edo State. It is an agrarian community with united people that promotes unity and oneness for peaceful coexistence. The inhabitants of the community migrated from Benin, the cradle of black civilization, a kingdom where king is truly king. The ancestors of Anegbete saw that age was the main determinant of leadership in the rural setting, and the eldest man in the settlement was regarded as the leader who presided over meetings, and his authority is held in high esteem. To further strengthen this unique system of leadership, age group evolved in Anegbete. In Anegbete, age group is categorized into two, that is, the common and the noble. Anegbete is rich in cultural heritage, as the community at noon saw the commitment of the festival with the first set rolled out in beauty colors to showcase their might and strength, indicating their feet and ready for the responsibilities behold on them. The streets in the community with a feed up of young men and women adorned with the festival. Later, the royal family takes the stage as their children fight out royally and work in the community to showcase their might and fitness.
This is Aqua Game, a popular game in Africa played by our ancestors to entertain themselves after each day of famine.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the continuation of TMI from our Lagos Network studio. I am Patricia Uremu Gabriels. Okay, we're just going to be starting off the program by apologizing for the delay, for the little delay that we had this morning. Anyway, straight to our topic for today. We're going to be discussing education away from politics this morning, a little bit away from politics. We're discussing something different that it is very important in our country, Nigeria. It's education policies and reforms. We're going to be analyzing Nigeria's education system and the potential improvements that we could have in Nigeria. I am Patricia Uremu Gabriels. Anyway, with me in the studio, I am going to be talking with Mr. Chris Ososa. Mr. Chris Ososa. Anyway, let's go on a short break. We'll be right back. Please sit.
It is also relevant in our coronation in Africa. It is a sport and indeed very interesting, as every seed had a role in the game. Playtime is 45 minutes per set. There is no age limit as long as you can spin aqua seed. Ayo or aqua game, known as the game of intellectual. This game requires a lot of mathematical skills. Aqua game is played with carved wooden box containing 12 holes.
Ugieni Madonna, Imazedion, Orero, always near Agbo, Manazo, or Ugieni Madonna.
You will have to serve the community for 30 years before you come to this stage. They will update you of your title. Then by then you are one of the elder.
This year now, we don't read the year.
Welcome back. It's still the continuation of TMI from our Lagos Network studio. I'm Patricia Uremu Gabriels. We were saying that we will be looking at education policies and reforms in Nigeria. We're going to be analyzing Nigeria's education system and potential improvements. And I was almost introducing my guest in the house. And like I also have a guest via Zoom who will be joining us via Zoom. So I have in the house, as usual, Mr. Chris Ososa. Mr. Chris Ososa is a political and a public speaker. Mr. Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
I go to you this traffic, like you said.
Horrible.
So sorry about that. And so we have via Zoom joining us today, Professor Emmanuel Olubayo Ogere, Professor of Mathematics and the National President, Mathematical Association of Nigeria. If we can have him on air. Prof, good morning and thank you for joining us. We can barely hear you. If you can speak louder.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for finding time to join us this morning. Let me just quickly go to you, Professor. As a mathematical professor and national president of MAN, how do you evaluate the standard of education in Nigeria?
Well, 5 years we have been debating about whether Nigerian educational standard is being not. But if we can call our mind back that what we used to learn when we were in primary school, not what the same class today. What we used to learn when we were in secondary school, what was used to be learned now when we go to the application of education, what Nigeria was in the 60s, what Nigeria is today, we now have areas where the application of believe education is education.
I'm sorry, we didn't hear the last part of what you said, but if we do understand what you said, I think you're saying that what you learned in your days is different from what we are learning in school today. But let me come to the house where Chris is seated. Chris, what are the most pressing challenges facing the Nigerian education sector today?
First, I would think the infrastructure to learning is not basically on ground, and then the structure that learning much easier is still not very much on ground. So we need to work on those two, the infrastructure that aid learning, and then of course entire network system that makes learning, because it's not just about having education, the system matters. So if the system is not formidable, if it's not solid on ground, it will affect the quality of the outcome. So we need to work the system and then improve infrastructure. So that because today has gone technology, all right? So learning is technologically driven, so we need to, plug to that and make it very, very effective. So these are part of the infrastructure that are needed, that are at the same time lacking now. So the structure has to do with research capability. So our research capacity with our institution now is still below standard. So that needs to come up, all right, because it will aid knowledge, okay, it will aid exposure and then it will also drive some kind of confidence in the student, to research and discover things on their own, and of course, launch into discovering things and then coming up with inventions, coming up with ideas and all of that. So this structure that makes learning, advance. So we need to put those structures on ground.
We need to put this on ground here in Nigeria. Let me come back to you. Can we have Prof displayed on the screen, please?
I'm hearing you.
Okay, Prof. Now, it's a common man's question I'm going to ask you. Should I say 85% of Nigerian students are scared of mathematics, including me? Including me. Is there a particular reason why students are scared about mathematics? It's mathematics a very difficult subject, just like we see it.
It's very, very funny when I hear people say they are scared of mathematics. Because every one of us markets, make transactions, and nobody ever cheated us. So when people say they are scared of mathematics, it is very, very funny. Mathematics is a subject that is applicable in every sphere of our life. Whether you are in science, whether you are in engineering, whether you are in art, whether you are in any humanity, mathematics always treats everything. So when I hear people say they are scared of mathematics, I just wonder what the meaning. Yes, higher mathematics, they say, okay, but if you recall, when you were in primary school, you were able to do arithmetic, and you must have done it very well. But the society itself has created a situation where people want to believe that they are going into secondary school, passing out of the secondary school, that mathematics is difficult subject. Yes, some of the teachers that handle mathematics, maybe because they are not grounded in the methodology of teaching mathematics, they make mathematics as a subject difficult. So that perception is what we transfer to higher level by saying mathematics. But if you look at around us, you look everywhere, you will see that we all use mathematics, and every now and then we calculate miles, carry out transactions, you buy things, collect your change, and you collect it correctly, which means you are using mathematics. So mathematics, so what we need is to make it more appealing to the students. And let's talk this idea of the mathematics. Mathematics is that we all need in every sphere of our life.
Okay, thank you. I'm still going to be asking you one more thing before I go back to there. It's about teachers, which was we go to, How can Nigeria better train and motivate teachers, especially in science and mathematics class? I mean, because they need to be trained, properly trained, to be able to pass out this training to the students.
Well, we thank God for the government making to ensure that some of these are addressed. There is a new resolution, a new reform being introduced now. Yes, teachers are trained. Yes, they call it education reform. Yes, now take those teachers who are in class to go for further training. Methodology is very, very important. You can be good in mathematics, you will be able to score 100%, but you may not be able to impart the knowledge, you don't have the methodology. The government is trying now, they are introducing so many things that is encouraging that. The national policy on education is ensuring that only teachers with correct qualification in education are teaching mathematics. The unfortunate thing is that we do not have enough numbers. So because of that, we still have challenges in meeting of that target. So training of the teachers who are handling mathematics is one of the best ways we can ensure the phobia is removed, students are made to love mathematics, and the teachers are making mathematics more realistic. When you tell students you are buying mango, you are buying things that a student is familiar with, they easily learn. We can make mathematics real to the students, and this is the both the love for mathematics and the teaching of mathematics.
Thank you so much, Prof. Let me come to you, Mr. Chris here. Do you think education is receiving the political priority it deserves in Nigeria?
Well, yeah, at the moment, I will say yes, but what will be the contention will be the size. But in terms of attention, obviously yes, because as we speak, NELFund is doing very fine. NELFund is a system where students get loan to school. So what that means is that the children of the very poor can now have access to tertiary education. So with that, you don't have to pay school fees, you have to worry about what your children...
Good morning. Welcome to the news update on Independent Television. I am Ihoy Davis. As part of measures to check the excesses of cattle herders and farmers' disagreement for an enhanced livestock breeding formed the bedrock of a livestock productivity and resilience support project, stakeholders engagement plan validation head by a non-government organization, Global Peace Development, in Benin on Monday. Efosa Unwangwe reports that the validation engagement was a follow-up to a roundtable discussion heard earlier this month by El Press.
The validation of the roundtable discussion organized by Global Peace Development is for promotion of a platform to find a common ground to resolve herders and farmers' clash in order to ensure the benefit of the sector is not dented. This necessitated the gathering of various stakeholders to cross-fertilize ideas and brainstorm on the validation of the earlier roundtable discussion by Livestock Productivity and Resilience Support Project. The Executive Director, Global Peace Development, Ebruke Onajiti SK, spoke extensively on the purpose, scope and the use of the stakeholders engagement plan, which according to him can provide a platform for sanity in the livestock herders and farmers clash.
Four stakeholders are relevant for this intervention are engaged based on the plan. We strongly believe that commercialization and growth of the livestock value chain will be enhanced.
Welcoming the participants, the Director of Program Global Peace Development, Faith Prince, expressed optimism that with the attendance by the different stakeholders engaging in the validation workshop, the aims and objective of the event will be achieved. The representative of the state coordinator, El Press, Okuwe Ofure, in a goodwill message, expressed belief that the validation will be able to achieve its aim.
As we go into these discussions, we'll be needing your attention. If there are things we have in the report you feel are not relevant to what we discussed.
Your participation here reflects our shared commitment to peace.
Some participants said the validation exercise has given them a broader scope of relationship between livestock herders, farmers, traditional rulers, and other stakeholders.
What I learned here when I engaged with my community, also pass the message to them.
All these things, they will make peace for the Edo State people.
Programs like this, creating a venue to ensure that there's a value chain and the value chain is robust.
If this mechanism is enforced to the letter to reduce farmer-herder clashes.
Representative of the Edo State Ministry of Livestock Development, cattle herders, some traditional heads, journalists, civil society, and veterinary doctors, among others, were part of the engagement workshop. From Benin, Efosa Unwangwe, ITV News.
As part of efforts to address human trafficking in Nigeria, particularly in Edo State, the African Network for Economic and Environment Justice, in collaboration with the Resilience Fund, through the Global Initiative Against Transactional Organized Crime, GTAC, has empowered over 15 individuals in Olugbo community with income-generating skills. The empowerment scheme, which featured a one-year hands-on training for youth in various vocational skills, culminated in a graduation ceremony held on Monday. Jolade Ojo reports.
The one-year skills acquisition project, titled Addressing Human Trafficking Through Empowerment with Income-Generating Skills, is an initiative of ANIJ aimed at empowering at-risk young people between the ages of 18 and 40 from vulnerable communities across Edo State. Over 15 youth from Olugbo community in Ibobaoka local government area who completed their training in hairdressing, fashion design, furniture making and carpentry, decoration and makeup, generator, air conditioner and refrigerator repairs, business, as well as welding and fabrication, were presented with starter packs to support the establishment of their businesses. Commenting on the program, the Executive Director of ANIJ, Reverend David Ugolo, represented by the Deputy Executive Director, Mr. Leo Atapu, said the organization will sustain its efforts towards reducing irregular migration and combating human trafficking through economic empowerment.
We have had similar initiatives that other communities benefited, but this particular one is targeted at Olugbo community. The whole idea is that we want to divert young people's attention away from crime such as human trafficking, so that they can focus more on businesses that can generate income, dependable income for themselves.
Some beneficiaries of the program expressed appreciation to ANIJ for the opportunity.
I was very thankful for helping us achieving our goals, our skills, and what we want to be in future.
I would say a very big thank you to ANIJ. May God continue to bless them.
Anywhere they have bring new skills, God will provide for them abundantly in the mighty name of Jesus.
They should do well for my body. I thank them very much.
ANIJ has proved themselves right by way of starting and finishing as promised.
ANIJ says the empowerment program reinforces its commitment to building stronger individuals, safer communities, and a future free from the scourge of human trafficking. From Olugbo community in the Bobaoka local government area, Jola Diojo, ITV News.
History was made at the weekend as the University of Delta, UNIDEL, held its maiden convocation ceremony in Agua Delta State. Graduates from various faculties gathered to celebrate a major milestone in the institution's history. Evans Nnukoge has details.
A major highlight of the convocation was the presentation of cash gifts to astounding students by the Delta State Governor, Sheriff Oborowori, alongside support from corporate organizations and other stakeholders as part of effort to reward academic excellence.
For the hostel, I will talk to the Commissioner for Housing to give people more building for hostel. Then also, I will also donate one coaster bus. The best graduating student will get 5 million from me.
The colorful ceremony attracted parents, guardians, and dignitaries from different walks of life who turned out in large numbers to witness the historic event. Among notable personalities at the ceremony was former Governor of Delta State, Ifeanyi Okowa, who was honored with an outstanding award in recognition of his contributions to education and national development.
On behalf of the Peterson Foundation, I hereby present to you the sum of 1 million naira from the Peterson Foundation. Congratulations. On behalf of the Peterson Foundation, we hereby present this check of 250,000 naira to you.
Thank you so much for the award. God bless you.
So not an easy journey. Like so many challenges, even financially, God made everything perfect.
Earlier, at a press conference, the Vice Chancellor of the institution, Professor Stella Chinye Chiemeke, emphasized the historical significance of the maiden convocation. She described it as a testament to the university's rapid growth, academic standards, and commitment to producing quality graduates. At the end of the ceremony, some of the award-winning students expressed gratitude to the university, management, and donors, noting that the recognition would inspire them to strive for greater achievements. Evans Nnukoge, ITV News.
Activities marking the burial ceremony of late Princess Ehiowemema Agwohia have been rounded off with a social dance in her honor. The ceremony, held at Utesi Primary School field in Ikpobalha local government area, Edo State, was graced by family members and guests from within and outside the state. Jonah Omorowa has details.
Singing, dancing, and entertainment of guests characterize the social dance held in honor of late Princess Ehiowemema Agwohia, who died at the age of 102. The ceremony, which was not a speech-making one, attracted family members and guests of the President, Edo State Sawmillers Association, Comrade Friday Agwohia, who came from all walks of life to celebrate the life and times of late Princess Ehiowemema. An elated Friday Agwohia appreciated family members and guests who graced the occasion.
It's a wonderful experience. I never knew that people love me this much. I'm surprised. For me alone to control 30 canopies, feed to capacity.
It's so surprising. And I give thanks to God and my late mommy. I'm so excited. You can see me dancing.
Some guests advised the children and grandchildren to emulate the good legacies of their late mother.
Mama lived a very good life. They saw her life fully. They have to emulate her so that they will also live long.
Father Agwokhia have been a philanthropic man who understands everybody's feelings, who can solve it because they have already experienced suffer before they become this position.
My advice for them, they should have unity and take their mother legacy so that the unity will strong.
Their mother lived a good life. My only advice is that they should continue to live in peace and harmony so that their mother, wherever she is, should be happy.
They have a lot of grandchildren, that's okay too. The military and the men, let them have unity and love.
Members of Sawmillers Association, Timber Converters, Brothers Keepers Club, Great Brothers, Utesi community members, Reform Ugboni Fraternity, and several others graced the occasion to celebrate with the Agwokhia family. From Utesi community in Ikpobaha local government area, Edo State, Jonah Omowa, ITV News.
This is the much we can take on the news updates on Independent Television. I am Ihoy Davis. Good morning.
ITV.
Good morning. Welcome. This is TMI Socials. I am Anwoluwakbo Stevens. But better still call me your social media butterfly. Now today we begin on the firing scene where on Sunday we saw soldiers killed a powerful Mexican drug cartel leader who was one of the most wanted men there and also in the U.S. Now there was no immediate confirmation from the government of the death of Nemesio Osguera, leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel. He had a $15 million bounty on his head, and then his death actually sparked a lot of reactions right there in Mexico. But let's have a feel of everything that happened over the weekend in Mexico. Moving over to how netizens reacted to this story online, let's have our first reaction from this user on X, Graham. The elimination of Nemesio Osuguara, aka El Mitchell, is a major blow to Mexican drug cartels and human traffickers. This evil man was at the top of a sick food chain, and President Trump's insistence that we boldly deal with cartel threat is paying off. Another user on X still reacting to the story. Prince wrote online, "This is about justice and public safety, not glorifying violence. Taking down those responsible for terror saves innocent lives. The priority must always be protecting civilians and restoring peace." Alrighty, still on this beat, this user wrote, "There is fire on the mountain there and everybody seems to be on the run." Well, if you know that music. Finally, this user on X. Okay, I think that's all we have on that story. But away from that, let's move down here in Nigeria, Lagos State precisely, where the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria has confirmed that no loss of life was recorded following a fire outbreak at Terminal 1 of the Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, and of course currently undergoing reconstruction by the federal government. Eyewitnesses said people around the terminal scrambled for safety immediately the fire started, as emergency responders moved swiftly to the scene to contain the blaze. Now, sharing details of the incident on X, FAN, that FAN disclosed that firefighters and other emergency personnel were promptly activated. Let's have a feel of how it went like in Lagos yesterday. Take a look. Well, we're super grateful that there was no casualty at all. But how did netizens take this online? Trust Nigerians to do the Lord's work on social media. On Instagram, this user wrote, "Nothing too serious, just a couple of billions in renovation would go down." Another one on Instagram, okay, this one is on X. Opeyemi wrote, "If fire service aren't on standby in the airports to quickly extinguish the fire, then something is really wrong with us as people." Well, still on this beat, Jad wrote, "Why all these fires everywhere? And we're not in Hamilton season, and no government investigations about the fires." Oh my God. Well, still in this one, moving over to another reaction. Let's move over to another reaction. This user wrote, "This is pure politics. Another allocation loaded. Minister of Aviation, Mingorsa." Oh my God, Nigerians and eggs. Well, away from that, let's move over to Anambra State, where yesterday we saw in the news that the Anambra State government has shut down the new motorcycle spare parts market in Inewi following an inspection exercise carried out across the market yesterday. Now, the market is expected to be reopened on Monday, March 2nd, 2026. So according to reports, the action was taken after several shops in the government-owned market were found closed in violation of a directive by Governor Chukwuma Charles Soludo mandating traders to open their businesses every Monday and disregard the illegal sit-at-home order of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra. Let's move over to the video.
In the market, and this market is a government-owned market. You must open the market. If you are not open the market, you are sabotaging the effort of the state. For this sabotage that you people have exhibited today, it seems that some of you still want the government to move forward. From today till the next week Monday, then if your people are playing or whatever you want to do, you can continue and go and have that till next week Monday. Next week Monday, I tell you, we are going to shut this market down. Next week Monday, we are going to do whatever.
Well, you will recall that IPOB, the Indigenous People of Biafra, came out to say a couple of weeks ago that they have stopped or put a halt to the sit-at-home order in the East, right? So you wonder why this is still going on as of yesterday in Anambra State. Well, let's see what you said as regards to this new development. This one wrote on X. What about the daily income of the traders affected? Good question. Another user reacting, Ademola, says this kind of shutdown may be necessary for regulatory or safety reasons, but authorities should ensure clear communication with traders and provide transparency on the inspection findings. Sudden closures can disrupt livelihood, so accountability and a timely reopening are crucial to maintain trust and economic stability. Absolutely. Another user still reacting. This one wrote, this sit-at-home exercise has cost the Igbo man a lot. However, they seem to be enjoying it. Efforts like this are commendable. Now, finally on the story, Damiflex reacting, sealing a whole market because people are scared to open is a wild level of tough love. He's trying to kill the fear by giving the traders a bigger fear, losing their livelihood. Well, we'll see how things go eventually in Anambra State. Now, finally, on TMI socials, a viral video of ex-minister Diezani storms out of the UK court in anger as prosecutor presents evidence and recordings in corruption trial. Now, to let you know that proceedings has resumed in London in the corruption and bribery trial of former Nigerian Petroleum Resources Minister Diezani Allison. And in the video, she was being asked what's her take on corruption. Here's what she had to say.
How you doing, Diezani? You alright? What do you think about corruption in Nigeria? Sorry? You reckon? You see what I should shot with you?
Have you got a video?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Anyway, you say the change is nothing. What I say is this. And it's very, very simple.
That's an assault, you know what I mean, Diezani?
We were nations before these people ever came in nation. A super nation of us, or a sub-nation. The end result is...
What do you think about corruption in Nigeria? Really? I think we need to find who that interviewer was there in that video. But how did you take this online? Let's have two reactions. This one on X wrote, she is living the best of her life in the UK. Another user still reacting to this video, Shay Martins, says, no orderly, no security, no PA. Par, they say, is transient. And this is a beautiful note to end TMI socials this morning. Okay, let me have this one that says, how can you be asking corruption what she thinks about corruption? Ridiculous question. Oh my God, the street of social media is actually hilarious, and you can never have a dull moment right there on TMI social. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. We'll do this again tomorrow, God willing. Until then, stay safe. From all of us on This Morning on ITV, Lagos, Abuja, and right here in Adel State. Do have yourself a great day ahead.
some days, there comes the Ugemobo Festival, which the Oba celebrates outside the palace gate. A pavilion is built of red cloth where rites are performed to drive away all evil spirits still unsatisfied by the year's sacrifices. The Emobo Festival is to commemorate an event in Benin history which dates back to 1504 AD.
Yari yari, Oba Tope!
The Oba of Benin added a colorful mood to the year's celebration as he walks round the city